Good morning, it's Friday the 5th of June. Our top story today, there have been emotional scenes at a memorial service in Minneapolis to George Floyd, the 46-year-old black man whose death at the hands of four white police officers has sparked protests across the United States.
A lawyer for the family told mourners that a pandemic of racism led to his death. Thousands of people have demonstrated in American cities for a 10th consecutive day. The marches largely being peaceful. Jane O'Brien has more.
And just the next few minutes, we're going to be speaking to a friend of George Floyd's. That's coming up shortly.
There have been a series of demonstrations here in the UK, the latest in Birmingham. It is 6:30. You're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
All latest news and sport coming up in a moment. Also,
you've got to draw a line.
OK, I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a line, to be honest with you.
Oh, yes.
6:44 is the time right now.
Now you know. On Monday, we were at an outdoor market in Barnsley as it was reopening. Attention, of course, now turning to other shops in England, which will be able to open up again in just over a week.
Let's go to Ben now, who's at a shopping centre in Watford. Morning to you, Ben. How's things?
So different, isn't it? Ben, it's been really interesting seeing how the shopping malls are trying to make it work. Thanks very much. We will see you later.
Let's see, time now is 6:48. Dentists across England will be allowed to start seeing patients again from Monday, but the British Dental Association says that shortage of protective equipment means many of them will remain closed.
NHS England insists that it's continuing to work with dentists on safety, as Dan Johnson reports. That was one of the weirdest films I've seen on this programme in quite a while.
What, just about things that happen on Zoom?
Just quirky, like vegetable paintings and...
I noticed Sarah was paying close attention. Have you had any Zoom incidents? Has anything happened?
That one's quite familiar to me. Definitely the quizzing, weekly quizzing. I do that with some of my friends as well on Zoom, and yeah, that's...
Our top story today, there have been emotional scenes at a memorial service in Minneapolis to commemorate the life of George Floyd, the 46-year-old man whose death at the hands of four police officers has sparked protests across the United States.
A lawyer for the family told mourners that a pandemic of racism led to his death. Thousands of people have demonstrated in American cities for a 10th consecutive day, the marches largely being peaceful. Jane O'Brien has more. There have been a series of demonstrations here in the UK, the latest in Birmingham.
Face coverings will be made compulsory for anyone using public transport from June the 15th in England to help stop the spread of coronavirus.
Failure to comply with the new measures could lead to a fine. This comes as the number of people who've died from the virus in the UK reaches almost 40,000. Keith Doyle has more. Thanks very much. We should say the Transport Secretary Grant Shapps is going to be on this programme. We'll have a chat to him at 7:30.
Police say they've received hundreds of emails and calls from the public about a new suspect in the Madeleine McCann case.
German police say they believe Madeleine, who disappeared in Portugal in 2007, is dead, and they're investigating a convicted sex offender who is currently in prison in Germany.
Well, let's go now. Reporting from Pride de Luge for us this morning.
Other news to bring you. The luxury car maker Bentley is to cut 1,000 jobs in the UK, about a quarter of its workforce.
Time now, 14 minutes past 7. Have a look at these pictures we've seen from...
Heavy rainfall there. That's what caused that. We have had rain this morning, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as that. Hopefully, Sarah. Morning. It's 18 minutes past 7. Good morning. Protests sparked by George Floyd's death continue across the United States. Social media has been filled with images of people who are standing in solidarity with the anti-racism movement.
It's talking to us today that Leonardo and Alex, who are involved in those protests, the images you saw earlier. Thank you very much.
23 minutes past 7 is the time. So at the moment, it's just advice. But in a few days, in a matter of days, from June 15th, wearing a face covering will become compulsory on public transport in England. It
is a move the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has been calling on for months. That is Sadiq Khan, who, of course, is Mayor of London.
Just after 7:30, you're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
Our main story this morning, an emotional memorial service has been held for George Floyd, the man killed while being detained by police officers in Minneapolis. Now, as a rule, the government has been against enforcing for months, but from June the 15th, as you were just hearing with Sadiq Khan, face coverings will be made compulsory for anyone using public transport in England.
Similar measures are already in place across the European mainland, where infection rates are much lower. Why now? Well,
let's see, time now is 7:43. That means it's time for us to have a chat with Mike.
It seems so long ago now. Ben, thanks very much, doesn't it? Easter just seems a lifetime ago.
It really does. And it's just interesting seeing how they are trying to literally look at that layouts and the practicalities of as and when because we still don't know exactly how that's going to work out.
And of course, I imagine we will be showing you how it works, because will people be able to stick to those distancing? If you want a nice piece of reality, kind of be told how it is, you'll enjoy this next film. The Royal Hospital in Chelsea, home of the Chelsea pensioners, has been hosting its annual Founders' Day parade this week. It has been a more sombre and scaled-back event compared to normal because of the coronavirus pandemic.
Like many care homes, it's been hit particularly hard, with 10 of its army veterans dying from the virus. Dozens more have been infected. Our defence correspondent Jonathan Beale has been to see how the hospital is coping.
Good morning, welcome to Breakfast. You're with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
Our headlines today. Good morning, it's Friday the 5th of June. Our top story today, there have been emotional scenes at a memorial service in Minneapolis to commemorate the life of George Floyd, the 46-year-old man whose death at the hands of 4 police officers has sparked protests across the United States.
A lawyer for the family told mourners that a pandemic of racism led to his death. Thousands of people have demonstrated in American cities for a 10th consecutive day. The marches have been largely peaceful. Jane O'Brien has more.
So we'll have sport with Mike coming up a little later on. Also, of course, all the business news and the weather, which has changed, as you'll be aware by now.
Patients are being warned not to expect business as usual when dentists are allowed to reopen in England on Monday. This is because there's a shortage of protective equipment.
The British Dental Association says that many practices won't be ready because they claim guidelines came so late they've not had time to meet the safety criteria. Let's go to our reporter Dan Johnson, who's at a dental surgery in Birmingham for us this morning. Morning to you, Dan. We have heard from dentists, for some time now, that they face real issues about how and when they can reopen and the supplies they need. This is upcoming now. What are they saying? Much.
We should also say the British Dental Association is saying that it will continue to work with dentists, support them to offer safe care using the latest guidance from Public Health England and the government on PPE and infection control.
Time now is 8:15 exactly. Her family has never given up hope of finding her, but 13 years after she went missing, prosecutors in Germany say they believe Madeleine McCann is dead. Let's see, it's 8:26 now. Let's take a look at the weather. Sarah's got...
It's just coming up to 8:30 and you're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
So let's go back to one of our main stories this morning. For the past few months, our train and bus stations have been very quiet. But as more people are expected to return to school and work in the coming weeks, new guidance will have to be followed.
So from June the 15th, people in England will have to wear face coverings when using public transport. How will the measures be enforced? Well, we can talk to Nations and Regions for the Rail Delivery Group. Thank you.
So, time now 8:37. Let's say hello and good morning to Mike. How's things, Mike?
Morning.
Good morning, yes, we've got some fresh news.
Thanks so much. See you soon.
Time now is 8:39. Celebrity Gogglebox returns to our screens tonight. As usual, some famous faces will be casting their eyes over the weird and wonderful world of television.
Now, the social media star and rapper KSI is going to be joined in front of his television by his friend, the music producer, Sam Gumbly, or SX. We're going to talk to them both in a moment. First, take a look.